It's always the inevitable question, is Glasgow doing better than Edinburgh?
I would not see Edinburgh as, sounds really terrible from somebody my age, an edgy city compared with Manchester or maybe even Glasgow, some of these.
Here at the moment we're Edinburgh, and sometimes we're going to be up against Glasgow, and let's not be afraid of the fight.
In its isolation it's very strong, but it's not as strong as the overall global Scottish brand.
It's clear not everyone agrees on Edinburgh's place in the UK. It has to be a compelling proposition to investors, but does the city go it alone or present a united front with its neighbours? The topic divided opinion at Estates Gazette's Edinburgh Question Time, held just 1 week after the referendum, and even with a no vote, the impact is still unknown.
Scotland and the United Kingdom, I would contend, will never be the same as a consequence of that historic referendum.
And one of the really positive things, I guess, of the last couple of weeks is that the city of Edinburgh, and indeed the rest of Scotland, welcomed over 800 international journalists into the city, focusing on the city like never before. And you can't buy that kind of publicity.
So I think the referendum did have a big impact. We've seen the rest of the UK regional markets move on fairly significantly this year, and certainly over the course of the last 5 or 6 months when we haven't seen our markets, particularly in Edinburgh and Glasgow, moving on.
But I think what we can say from our perspective is that the values have remained stable, and perhaps as equally as important, the occupational market we found has remained stable.
From the end of March onwards, there was a noticeable drop-off in the value of transactions done in Scotland, but the caveat I would put on that is that it depends where you are in Scotland. Our good friends in the northeast in Aberdeen, I don't think saw any bump at all in the process, I'd have to say.
Back to more local matters, Edinburgh's role in the wider economy and its appeal to foreign investors divided panellists and members of the audience.
When you go to London, there's often talk about the regional markets, and Glasgow and Edinburgh are often included as regional markets, and we're not a regional market. We're vibrant, sustainable cities in our own right, and I think we have to target those investors who understand that.
If Edinburgh thinks, even though there's a wonderful corporate Edinburgh approach in the airport and its isolation, it's very strong, but it's not as strong as the overall global Scottish brand. Not my words, the words of Dominic Barton, the global managing director of McKinsey Consulting.
I think connectivity to the rest of the UK and the rest of Europe and the rest of the world is important, and the Edinburgh Airport has clearly grown significantly over the last few years in terms of connectivity. But looking on a more micro level, we don't have a motorway that links ourselves to the south of the border directly in the way that Glasgow does. I think that we also need to connect ourselves technologically and digitally in a better way.
Is there not a point where, yes, to an extent we should have Team Scotland and we should have a forum for Team Scotland, but sometimes we need to face it that here at the moment we're Edinburgh, and sometimes we're going to be up against Glasgow, and let's not be afraid of the fight. And I feel that some members of the panel are maybe treading on eggshells and shying away from the fact that there has to be a fight between cities who are closely linked and would like to work together sometimes, but sometimes they have to fight for it.
It's always the inevitable question, is Glasgow doing better than Edinburgh? And I really think, that's the wrong sort of focus for us, because having healthy, vibrant cities in the west and the east is a really good thing. And, we have a mutually beneficial relationship in terms of our economy with Glasgow. And actually, where we need to compete is internationally.
The referendum might be a matter of history, but even in a traditional city like Edinburgh, looking to the future is key. How that's done, however, perhaps still up for debate. Rebecca Kent reporting for Estates Gazette.